Welcome back. I'm going to try to introduce today's guest in under 30 seconds, so here we go, time starts now. Okay, well, as you saw in the title, today's video is featuring Helge Thun. Now, Helge Thun is someone I met at the session convention earlier this year. I'd never heard of him before, and I was just amazed the first time I saw him. His stage presence and command of the audience was second to none, and I knew immediately I wanted to get him on this channel. So Helge was generous enough to say yes to me, even though we'd only spoken once before. And what you're about to see is a snippet, as usual, from a longer conversation. And this is just absolute gold. I've already watched it several times, and I've already got so much out of it. I really hope you enjoy this as well. I need to get this under 30 seconds, so please enjoy the video. And if you enjoy this, then go watch the full conversation because it's even better than this. So enjoy. I'm really interested to dive deep into some of the things that you've learnt from the world of theatre and comedy, and also how you've applied that as a magician. And what kind of giving that as advice for people like myself who have never really touched those worlds but are super interested in the crossover between the two. So I was wondering, could you just kind of give a background? I'm assuming you had a fair bit of theatre training. What was that like?
Well, as I said, I never had formal actors training, but working for 3 years, I was learning on the job from all the other directors and actors and stuff. So. I think the problem with magic is that you learn tricks and then you go on stage, but you never learn the stagecraft that goes along with it. So you know how to do tricks, but you don't know really how to perform it or how to speak on stage, how to walk on stage, how to act. And so, I mean, I could go on for hours now what this means. The advice that I could give or that it boils down to is when you want to perform on stage, try to learn stagecraft as much as you can. So if you have the ability to get some actors training, even in an amateur group and act in a play, just acting in a play once will teach you so much more than just reading about it. But of course, it's about voice, it's about projection, it's about stage presence, which is also one of those mystic words that you never know what that means. And I can't really explain in just one sentence, but you know what I was talking at the session only for 5 minutes in that one joint thing, the concept of status, for example. This is something I got, and I'm prepared. I can show you something. This book is called Impro by Keith Johnston. Keith Johnston, he was an English director, and he is basically the inventor of theater sports and improv theater. And this is really, if you read this might change your life. And there's a whole chapter. This teaches you how improvisation works because it's like a creative process on stage, right? For example, if we were to improvise a scene, the one thing you should never do is think ahead. Because if I think ahead, if I develop some idea of the scene in my head and I stick to that, you don't know what I'm thinking of, and if you have another idea, then we will just everyone will just try to come through with his idea. So the concept is basically not to think ahead, but to make suggestions or offers and accepting those offers. And then, so I would, for example, establish something like, hey, how about we go sailing? Okay, and if you go, oh no, I don't like sailing, let's go climbing. And then I go, oh no, I don't like climbing, how about swimming? And you go, no, I can't swim. So, and you know that gets us nowhere. Okay, so you're stuck at the same point. But if I go, hey, I heard you're such a good swimmer, I can't swim, can you teach me how to swim? And you go, oh yeah, sure. But we don't have water, how about we're going to use your bathtub, okay? And I go, oh yeah, it's that's great because I have really big bathtub. It's 2 rooms big. And then you go, oh, I've never seen, you know, I have no idea where this story goes, but as you can see, you're developing step by step a story. So it teaches you that. And the concept of status that I was talking about is really something that helps with magic as well. Status doesn't mean your social status, whether you're rich or poor, but your basically your behavior. So high status is somebody very confident. You know, I can look at you. I don't look away. My voice is calm. and competent. I'm taking off. This is hard to teach with the camera, but if you're in the same room, if I were to, if my body basically takes over the room, if the room that I inhabit, those are all high status behavior skills. Okay, and low status is the opposite. I can't really look at you the whole time. My space that I'm occupying is very small, and I don't feel confident. And the thing about this is it's like a technique. You can change this actively. It's not when you grow up, you feel the way you behave, that's you. And status behavior is always a strategy to get out of trouble. Okay, so the high status player goes, don't fuck with me because I will fuck with you. Okay, so that's how he avoids getting into a conflict. Whereas the low status player, he avoids conflict by basically saying, "Oh, I'm not worth it. Just you go ahead." Okay, and you feel, and in life, you always maneuver yourself in your preferred state of status. That's the status that you feel more comfortable with. That experience has shown you this is the way to stay out of trouble. And
Interesting.
you confuse that with your own self or with your character, with your nature. But it's something that you can actively change. Like you can decide whether you do a top change or you do a double lift. So you can decide um, just to stand up straight, just to look people in the eye, and that raises your status, and vice versa. If you have a heckler in the audience, right? That basically means he is trying to fight for the higher status. So he might feel challenged by you because he doesn't like you, because he's maybe a typical high status player, and all of a sudden you get all the attention on stage and he's only somebody who doesn't matter. So he might feel challenged to say, I'm the guy. So he will challenge you to fight for a higher status. Just knowing that means that you can either try to lower his status or higher your own status, or even do the opposite, going like, oh yeah, you won. And then he is happy. Say if you have somebody on stage and you like the most important thing if you have somebody on stage is that people see that he or him is feels comfortable. Now, if you have some low status person who feels uncomfortable and unsecure, people will notice that, and you can do whatever you want. It will never be a nice atmosphere on stage. So you can try to actively, you can try to change that status thing. If that person is very insecure and you basically compared to her or him have that status, you can lower your own status and trying to higher hers or his, so you're on eye level. And that's just technique. It's just the way you talk, the way you position him or her on stage. Something that everybody knows, for example, is when you have a kid on stage. So you might just have that kid stand on a chair just to raise it on eye level, so you don't look down on the kid. So you level this your status relationship. So this is just very, very brief, the concept, but it's technique, and that's something I learned from improv and from acting, that I don't have to play a character, but just by the way I use my body, I use my voice, in comparison to other people, I can change the outcome of how I'm perceived or how the situation is perceived or how I interact with people.
Is extremely fascinating to me because, is there a middle ground between like high status and low status, or is it just kind of between the extremes?
No, it's not. It's not about the extremes. For example, if you're a table hopper, you get to a table. There's five people there. You will always have a natural pecking order because we are social animals. So in a group, you always have the highest status and the lowest, and everything in between. And this might not be like this. They might all be very same. Like with friends, they are all basically the same, but one of the guys or one of the girls will always be the leader of the pack, right? So, and we all grow up with this, so we are all very sensitive to that. It's just be able to make this more, not intuitive, but more, how do you say, so you know what you're looking at, and yeah, it's not in between the extremes, but you always have to think of this in relation to the other people that are around you. So like a golden rule could be, if you perform, you should have the highest status, but as close to the audience as possible, so you're still likable. There are some characters on stage that use low status behavior to be because that makes them more likable to the people, because they don't pose a threat, right? So they don't challenge you in who is the boss. But then, of course, you still have to be in control. So it's a bit more tricky to be a low status character on stage and still own the room, you know. So it's that's more difficult. So but I would say the golden rule would be, this is your stage, you have to take your room, right? Everybody is sitting crowded there in the audience, only having the room at their seat, and there's somebody else there occupying that room, but you have the whole stage and the whole room. So you have to, your whole body language has to own that, or has to take over that whole room, but in a way that you still seem very close to everyone else. So they don't feel like you're talking down to them. Make sense?
Yeah, it does make sense. It really does. It's fascinating because, you know, it seems very obvious once you hear it. But it's not something I've really thought about like that before. Is this something you use outside of performing, or is it just strictly for the stage?
Well, not really consciously, but I think it really changed my life knowing about it, knowing that it's not me and I can change in different situations, that it's really a technique. It doesn't matter how I feel about it or whether I like being the highest status or the lowest status, but I know that this is something I could change. So in real life, for example, if I were to apply for a job and I wanted to make a good impression, then, you know, I could actively train that situation and how I will sit there in front of the guy who interviews me, or the person who is interviewing me. And one thing that's also important, that you always distinguish between a positive and a negative status. You know, you can be a positive high status, means like being very likable, like politicians know how to do that. You know, they own the room, but they still give you the feeling that they like you, and so you like them back. And but you can also be like the tough guy with a negative high status. That's the guy who will fight you, right? And same with low status. You can be like very miserable character, and which is like a negative status, but you can also be very happy being the lowest status.
Well, there you go. I think this conversation with Helge Thun has been one of my favorites by far out of all of the ones I've done. This little snippet alone on status is just really interesting. It's not something you usually hear about in the magic world. So if you did enjoy this, then please go check out the full conversation, which is coming out in a few days' time. The link will be down below in the description. Yeah, it was a really good time. Thank you, Helge, for saying yes and coming on. There you go. I hope you enjoyed this video. I have so many others like it on my channel, so if you like this kind of thing, if you're a magic nerd like me, then go have a look, and I hope you enjoy them. But other than that, have a great day, and I'll see you in the next one.